SummerCom. Welcome to June 17th. We are now 3 days into this wonderful ride that is SummerCom and our 6-week process. Now, some of you may be well beyond the first week of this, and that's okay too. We'll talk about that towards the end of the video, but welcome. We're going to talk about the rest of Module 1 here today, and this will probably be the last video for this week because we'll have covered everything we need to, and the rest of this week can be yours to finish up the assignment, finish up the quiz, and basically get yourself through what you need to get through. So today we're going to talk a little bit of the wellness wheel and the dimensions of wellness, because wellness doesn't come in one flavor, it doesn't come in one form. It actually has a bunch of different things that go into making a kind of a life that is balanced, that does make sense for you, and the end really makes you happy. And there's a few pieces here: environmental, physical, intellectual, spiritual, occupational, social, and emotional. And those are all pieces that are important. And for some people, a lot of these exist on a continuum. And part of the assignment actually asks about this. It asks, where are you at on various parts of the wellness spectrum? And for some people, some pieces of this are incredibly important. They would almost say that that piece of the wellness wheel drives their life. You probably have a friend like this, where physical wellness, the idea of being active, being an athlete in some cases, that might drive them, and it might be the most important piece of this wellness wheel. Likewise, you probably have some people you know where spiritual, social, or occupational pieces of this are the thing that drive their life, and there's nothing wrong with that. Part of this course is for you to be aware of these different aspects and make sure that you understand where you fall in this to make yourself a happy life, to basically care for your own wellness. And I want to talk a little bit about the idea of strengths and a little bit about barriers, because we've actually run into a major piece of this. And I say we as in the collective we of society have run into I'm going to say a problem with this. When COVID-19 happened here in March and we got put under a pseudo lockdown, this changed a lot of things for a lot of people, because in many cases, and again, as students, you are still figuring this out, but for those of us in the, out in the rest of the world, a lot of people live in a place of balance. You probably found a pretty happy place from an occupational perspective, from a social perspective, from a physical perspective. But the assignment asks about barriers to that. And a lot of people had some very unexpected barriers that came up in their life at that point. I'll use an example here. When we went into that pseudo lockdown, a lot of people had some problems with social wellness. They are used to having a friend group, going out for dinner with your friends, meeting with your friends, in the summer barbecues, that sort of thing, where you would actually see those people. But suddenly you're not allowed to go near people. You're not allowed to go to people's houses because we're trying to stop the spread of this pandemic. How do you basically make and maintain healthy relationships with people when you can't be in their physical presence? Now, some people figured out that they could do things like web conferencing, things like going onto, a Google Meet or Facebook chat or something like that to still maintain that social wellness. But there were some people that didn't adapt to that particularly well, and that became a barrier to their wellness, is the ability to not meet with people. Likewise, we often see people that run into that social piece when they, for example, move locations. They move to a new part of the country, a new part of the world to work or to do some challenge, and they don't have the same social network. They don't have friends there, and you have to remake those friends. So in that meantime, often that piece of wellness suffers. And people fight with these all the time. You lose a job, and that, again, COVID caused this for a lot of people and caused their wellness to suffer because they no longer had that meaning to identify with. This is who I am. So for me, I identify with being a teacher very much, and that's a core piece of who I am. And to not have that all of a sudden, if that was the case, would actually be something that would affect my physical, or would affect my wellness overall as a piece of this. So when you look at this, I want you to take an inventory of your life. Where are you at on these 7 factors? Where do you fall? And which of these do you consider to be hugely important in your life? Because for some people, some are very much, and for some people, they're not. And that's most of the questions I've had around this reflection point assignment. There is also a quiz at the end of this that actually talks about some of the things you've learned. It's a very quick 5-question quiz, and a few of the quizzes later in the course are much more in depth, but this one's just an introduction to get your feet wet and make sure you know how all of the tools work and that we're ready to roll. If you have any questions, they go into the discussions. If you haven't already responded to the discussions, and I know there's a handful of people who are in that boat, please get in there and introduce yourself. And if you just want to start a conversation in there, I'm more than happy to have those. Again, social wellness being what it is, this isn't a traditional classroom. We can't have those side conversations necessarily, except in the discussion. And you are more than welcome to throw those in the discussion. With that being said, I think my next video is probably going to be Monday next week, because if we look at our checklist, and I do recommend you are using the checklist to check where you are in the course, we have the quiz, the assignment, those are all due for the end of this week, and then we're looking at a bunch of Module 2 for next week. So I think we'll talk through Module 2 starting on Monday, and we'll go from there. Any questions? You know where to find me. Cheers.